All right. Hi, everybody. So, yesterday, I guess, I edited my video wrong, and these magically appeared without me showing you how to do them. So, one thing we can look at, though, is like how my salt technique worked out. So, like, see that kind of cool crystallization in my black one right here? You see what the alcohol looks like dry, and then you can also see what my, like, faux saran wrap looks like. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain those to you now because I somehow took them out of my video from yesterday. So, rubbing alcohol is one of my favorite techniques. I think it's the most interesting to look at, or it's like a really cool one to do. So, I'm going to mix up some paint here. Oh, my brush is all crusty and hard from yesterday. I'm going to go with a really dark color. I think this works really well on dark colors. But you don't necessarily have to use like a dark color. This one, it worked really well on kind of like an orangish red. But I prefer to do a dark color, and it's probably going to show you on the screen the best on a dark color. So I'm just going to make a nice swatch of, talk before I'm ready. So I've just got a bottle of rubbing alcohol here. Any percent of isopropyl alcohol works. The more alcohol in it, the stinkier it is, but I just got a little bit sitting in a cap here. You really don't need much. But the big thing that you do need is your paper to stay wet. So make sure you mix up enough pigment here that when you apply it, it's not drying out on the paper right away because this paper is so absorbent. And I'm just going to take the backside of my paintbrush. I'm going to dip it in. I'm going to apply that down. See how it's like spreading and like bringing color or the white of the paper back into it? So what's happening is the rubbing alcohol is resisting the pigment, and it's creating this really kind of cool effect. And you can like drop big droplets on it. You can just like do little tiny ones. And it also just kind of depends on how wet you allow the paper to be or your pigment to be. If it's really wet, it will spread more. As it starts to dry, it will spread a little bit less. And it also kind of depends on how much you're applying onto it. Like magic. Good for galaxies, good for abstract things. Good just to have fun and play around with it. I did not give you rubbing alcohol just because like legally with OSHA, I couldn't. If you happen to have just like some regular isopropyl alcohol laying around, or if you have like alcohol prep pads that are in a, like a first aid kit, that would work too. The next one you need just like a little bit of salt. It could be any salt. It could be, just regular table salt like I have here. It could be like a salt grinder. Doesn't really matter what kind of salt you're using. Again, I like to do this with dark colors, but it works with any color range. This one also has to be wet. You can see my sgraffito from the other side of this popping through. So again, make sure that you're creating something that's going to stay wet until you put your salt down, because if you don't, it's not going to actually work. So I'm going to sprinkle the salt on. In some areas, I'm just going to like really saturate it. In other areas, I'm going to let it be kind of thin. And then just throw some over your shoulder. I don't know why that's even a thing, but so those are those two techniques, pretty quick and easy. The last one, I'm just going to stick with the dark color. Now, I don't have saran wrap at home because I don't use it. So I just got like an old piece of, what is this stuff called? A plastic bag. That's all this is. You could use like a Target bag, you could use like a Cub bag, you could use a plastic bag, you could use saran wrap, anything that's kind of just like plasticky and you can suction down to the paper. This one also has to be wet when you apply it. I have a little salt left over on my paper. The salt effect you won't necessarily see in completion until the next day because it has to dry for that to really happen. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to crumple it on top. I'm not going to actually apply it down in an even form. And I want that to kind of hold onto the paper. Saran wrap will hold to the paper really well. It won't crumple up just like this one did. But you can see where it's kind of suctioning down. It's actually going to hold pigment in those areas. So that when you take it off, those areas that hold the pigment will be darker. This one looks kind of like tie-dye. It'll give you a different texture. So that's how to do that style. The next day, once you're done with your salt, you can actually take and just kind of scrunch it off. It kind of sounds weird, but then you just get that cool kind of crystallization on your paper. And then this one just leaves you the texture. So super sorry I somehow edited those out of my final that I did yesterday. Thank you to the student who actually pointed it out to me. Totally my bad. If I ever mess something up, just yell at me so I can fix it. Thanks, guys. Good luck with your charts, and they will be due on Thursday.